Continue our coverage here from our budget headquarters. Joining me now is the Disinvestment or the DIPAM Secretary. It's a force of habits, Neeraj Gupta, and the Financial Services Secretary, Mrs. Anjuly Duggal. Chib, appreciate you joining us here. Let me start by asking you, sir, you've got an even stiffer target for disinvestment that's been set at over 72,000 crores. First, if I can talk to you about the current year, and then I'll talk to you about the year ahead, sir. As far as the current year is concerned, what should the realistic expectation be? You've still got 2 more months to go.
Well, you have seen the revised estimate of 45,500 crore. The targets are set to be achieved.
You're at 30, about
31
what?
crore, 31,000 crore yesterday.
You'll be able to get to 45,000 crores?
I mean, that will be the best endeavor. We will be working in unpredictable markets, but keeping the mind in the market. We will be definitely looking for right opportunity at the right time.
Okay, so 45,000 crores is what you hope to achieve.
Is the revised estimate.
Is the revised estimate, and you hope to achieve it. And this doesn't include any strategic disinvestment.
No, it includes strategic disinvestment.
It includes strategic disinvestment.
That's
So
right.
in this financial year itself, we could see something go through on the strategic disinvestment front?
You have to wait and see the outcomes.
I'm asking you this question
I can't really give you the market leads what is going to be happening.
No, I'm asking you this question because the Niti Aayog, which has been entrusted with putting together the list for strategic divestment, Arvind Panagaria was here, and he said he's a little bit disappointed that we haven't seen a strategic divestment take off in this financial year. So you're saying that, and his hope was that Q1 of the next financial year, we will see something happen on that front. So you're saying we could see.
You should understand, strategic divestment is just not a OFS, which can be done overnight. You have to run through a process. You must have seen a lot of RFPs coming out for merchant advisor,
Yes.
merchant bankers, transaction advisor, legal advisor, valuation advisors. So all these processes are running parallelly. What I'm trying to say is what you all are looking for when the transaction will take place. So transaction is strategic disinvestment is not like a minority stake sale.
No, it's not. The only reason we're looking for when the transaction will take place is to give us some sense of what happens as far as your numbers are concerned.
See, meticulously the process is being run, and I can assure you, you will, if the government decision is there, we'll go back to the government, take a final decision on a strategic disinvestment of particular CPSE, and the transaction will also take.
Okay, 72,000 crores or little over that is the target for disinvestment for the next financial year. It's not split between strategic disinvestment and
it is.
So what is the split then, sir?
Split is, I told you, it is one head. But nonetheless, let me share with you, you have really taken cue on the 72,000 figure. There are many big announcements. Listing of the CPSEs.
Yeah.
Indicative list is also given there. But that is not an exhaustive list. So all profit-making CPSEs should go to the market, unlock their values, and that will assist in divestments also, and sharing the wealth of the CPSE with the public. There is a new ETF which has been announced.
Yeah.
And if you see the success of our previous ETF, FFO, if it is any indicator, there's a lot of appetite for a good product in the market.
So the ETF currently is what, about 9,000 crores odd, if my memory serves me correct?
I will not get into figures.
Okay.
Because I have not really estimated them. It will all depend on the constitution of the ETF and how much market appetite is there in our assessment. So the size of the ETF cannot be really predicted like this. Then there is another merger acquisitions are there. So all the CPSEs will have to look into the options of whether they can integrate forward or backward to improve in the industry value chain.
And it's beyond oil and gas. I mean, people have got caught up in oil and gas because the finance minister made a specific reference to the oil and gas. So M&A is sector agnostic.
See, the announcement is sector agnostic. As a specific reference is that there is an obvious opportunity in that segment. And this will really create economies of scale in CPSEs where they can compete globally also. So all these aspects should also be factored when the disinvestment target is being discussed.
Okay. I'll come back and touch upon each of those issues and get more details from you, but let me ask the Financial Services Secretary. Ma'am, last budget, there was the announcement of IDBI Bank. This budget, we're still waiting to get some clarity on what happens as far as IDBI Bank is concerned. We're talking about M&A and consolidation here. Realistically, what is the expectation now with IDBI Bank?
I wouldn't like to talk about a specific bank, and this is also the quiet period, as you know. So it's not an appropriate time to talk about any bank. In any case, I don't think I'd be very happy doing that. But certainly, that is not off the table.
It's not off the table. But is banking consolidation, I mean, we've seen what's happened as far as SBI and its subsidiaries are concerned, but is banking consolidation, as was just articulated by the DIPAM secretary, also going to be big on the priority?
I think it should be a subset of the M&A activity that the FM talked about today. Yes.
It should be. So that's a realistic expectation.
It should be. It is a subset.
Okay, it is a subset. So banking is included in the M&A activity that the finance minister spoke of. Let me then ask you about this idea that's being floated by the chief economic advisor of a para of a public asset rehabilitation agency. The finance minister also saying that an idea of a bad bank is under deliberation. What is now the road ahead? What is the realistic timeline, if any at all, of whether this sort of a mechanism is going to be put in place?
It's been discussed, it's been talked about, it's been examined. But if I can recall to your mind, some of the amendments that we brought about in the Secy Act in the current fiscal, and if you remember, for the ARCs, we actually permitted, the Parliament permitted a majority stakeholding one. Plus, they were permitted a number of other relaxations, including, relaxation is actually the wrong word, refinements in raising capital, including accessing non-institutional investors for their capital. Today's budgets also announced about the tradability of the security receipts, etc. So that is a particular space that's being opened up. So at some stage, we would take a look at whether the ARC sector is well populated, is competitively populated in the private sector, and whether there is a need. It's going to be one of the factors that will be also considered at the time of taking any decision on a bad bank in the public sector.
Are we anywhere close to a finalization, a decision of some sort?
I wouldn't like to put a timeline on this because there are market conditions to be considered. There is a need to see what is happening in that particular segment, what is really required, and what the competing demands on government's resources are at any point of time.
Okay. 10,000 crores has been allocated as far as bank recapitalization is concerned. The finance minister says that more will be allocated if the need were to arise. But the need of the banking sector, at least as far as independent evaluation is concerned, is significantly higher. Given the NPA situation, given the needs of the banks, do you believe the 10,000 crores will have to be topped up?
This 10,000 is entirely in conformity with what was announced in Rudhanush.
Yes.
Right? So for this year also, we have a certain amount of money which is left over from our first tranche of recapitalization, and which is something that is going to be used to recapitalize the public sector banks. As of now, we do not think that our number crunching leads us to believe that much more is going to be required. But should it be required, it's an ongoing exercise. We never take our eyes off this particular exercise, so if it's required, we'll just step in there.
Okay. Sir, let me now talk about some of the issues that you touched upon. Listing, and the finance minister said that there should be time-bound listing. I know that there has been disappointment with listing, for instance, of HAL and so on and so forth, which have taken very, very long, and we still don't have any clarity. What should the realistic expectation be, and what does time-bound listing mean?
First of all, it underlines the importance of listing. FM made a reference that by listing, we are making them exposed to the capital market, private oversight, holding by public, some sort of public answerability also, and higher accountability and transparency which is required for a listed company. Without listing, you cannot unlock the values of the companies. In the speech, there has been some indication, some names also there. If they need more
railway entities, for instance.
They are all indicative, not exhaustive.
Yeah.
So all profit-making CPSEs, there should be a policy of listing.
So would it be fair to assume that the priority will be these 3 railway entities and then the 4 insurance companies, because that was a budget announcement last year?
There are many more.
Okay.
There are many more. And the issue is that this listing, if decided, should be done in a time-bound manner. So the whole listing process can be divided into some activities which has to be done in-house in the government.
Okay.
Or with the government, and then some regulatory clearances.
Okay.
So when we go to the market, is all determined on the market conditions. As far as preparedness for listing is there, preparation of information memorandum, DRHP and all that. That can be always done in a time-bound manner. So I'm sure the indication is there,
so
the direction is there.
What does the current pipeline look like in terms of where preparation is you know, clear, done, and you can hit the market if the conditions are right?
We have to really identify them, which should be the taken first. Some has been indicated already, so we will take the queue forward. But we will have to analyze all the CPSEs which can be taken up for the listing, and parallelly start the process.
Okay. On the M&A front, since oil and gas is specifically what the finance minister mentioned, I would assume that that will be the first sector off the block in that sense. Can you throw some light on what kind of consolidation we're talking about?
See, when a sector-specific consolidation is indicated, the sector has to take the lead. But the intention is very clear. If we can create forward and backward integration, consolidation, create economies of scale, we can create CPSEs which can really compete in the world. So that type of sense is given there.
Has a blueprint been drawn up, at least for the oil and gas sector?
I'm sure after the budget announcement, the sector will work on it. And if the assistance is required from DIPAM, we will be forthcoming with any type of assistance in understanding or doing a transaction.
Ma'am, let me end then by asking you, as far as this war against NPAs is concerned, what is the sense today? You know, we're talking about banks wanting to deal with stressed assets, but perhaps there are now concerns on whether there will be sort of under watch of various investigative agencies and so on and so forth. Do you believe that the process of dealing with NPAs has perhaps received a little bit of a setback?
I think the case that you refer to has more to do with the way the loan was extended.
Sure.
This is about resolution that we're talking about. And I think with the tools that the RBI has provided to the banks, the oversight committee that has been set up by the Indian Banks Association, the changes in the legislative framework through the IBC, through the Secy amendment, through the DRT Act amendment, I think there is creation of a space within which it's become a lot more feasible to go in for resolution. And going ahead, the large exposures framework, etc., is going to keep a lot of the resolution in control, in a sense, because you won't have to resort to it.
Okay, let me end then by asking you in terms of interest rates, because that was something that the finance minister spoke of several times over. We've got a credit policy coming up. How much room, space is there for a further reduction in rates?
The MCLR is a very, very thoroughly worked out formula. So the cost of funds is very clearly reflected in what the MCLR should be. There has been a very large reduction right now, and in fact for one or two of the banks, counting from November reductions onwards, it's gone beyond 100 basis points. There should be space, but it will depend upon the cost of funds available to the banks.
Okay. My memory is failing me at this point in time, but the finance minister made references to check bouncing in his budget speech, if you want to.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It's about an amendment in the Negotiable Instruments Act, and since we are moving to less cash ways of undertaking transactions, the checks constitute an important focus area. And considering also that the judicial process can take a certain amount of time, we are looking at ways to reduce the period that needs to be taken or disincentivize frivolous applications.
Okay. Let me end, sir, then by asking you how much pressure are you feeling now with the 72,000 crore rupee target, disinvestment target?
To CNBC, I'm feeling very relaxed.
Well, it's good to have you here on the show. Neeraj Gupta, Anjuly, Duggal, Chib, thank you very much for joining us here
on
CNBC-TV18. Well, the team from North Block continues to come in, and we'll be right back with you with more, so stay tuned.